Hello everyone, welcome to Kalyan Tutorials. So in this particular video we are going to talk about V/F control method of induction motor, which is a speed control technique of a induction motor. So in nowadays, if you observe, anywhere we are making use of induction motors because due to its wide range of applications and as well as the feasibility to incorporate it anywhere according to our requirement. For suppose if we have to use it in industry, we can use it because the speed control and everything of induction motor in present days is very easy. In olden days, if we talk about, we used only synchronous type motors and DC machines mostly, because at that time there were no power electronic devices, so therefore there was no frequency control for the induction motor. But in the present days, the power electronics is developed in such a way that we can control the frequency very easily. So for speed control of this induction motor, we generally talk like about three methods. Like, one is rotor resistance control method, voltage control method, and this is the V/F control method of induction motor. So in rotor resistance control method of stator side and as well as the voltage control methods, we will face a problem like heating problems of rotor, as well as the efficiency of the machine will be decreasing in those two speed control techniques. Those two are voltage control and the rotor resistance. But in this V/F control method of induction motor, we will be having some advantages, and it is very easy to achieve with the power electronics devices. So let us start this control method. So before letting you into the main topic, I'll advise you to have a notebook with you and uh, simultaneously note down the points what I am telling, because there will be so many equations which I will be writing and using them very repeatedly. So it will be better if you have all equations at one place. It will be very convenient to understand the concept. So it's an advice, or else it's your wish. So if I have to talk in the points, the first point will be like this method this method is applicable for both type of induction motors, but the both type of induction motors are slip ring as well as the squirrel cage induction motor. Whereas the previous two methods, that is voltage control method and rotor resistance control method, uh, those have some constraints, because we can't vary the resistance in the squirrel cage induction motor because the rotor has already the fixed value. So those were two constraints, but this method can be used for both type of induction motors. So in this method, variable frequency, as the name itself indicates that V/F control, that is we are going to change V and F simultaneously, frequency is supplied to stator. Variable frequency what we are changing is supplied to stator, by which wide range of NS, that is synchronous speed or the rotating magnetic field, can be controlled. We know that in induction motor we have RMF, that is rotating magnetic field, and that speed will be depending upon the supply frequency. So if we vary the supply frequency, then NS is going to be varied, because this can also be said by NS is equals to 120 F by P. So if we change this particular F value, then your RMF or the synchronous speed of the machine will be changed. But the problem here we have is, we know that in any AC machine, in any AC rotating machine, if we have to be very precise, the induced voltage or the V will be equal to root 2 or 1.414 times of pi into frequency into flux into TPH into Kc into Kd. These are the two terms. These two are called the pitch factor and the distribution factor, and together we can call it as winding factor. So in the next step what I will write is root 2 into pi frequency into flux into TPH into kW. So here if you see, I will bring this frequency to my left hand side, so it will become V by F is equals to under root 2 into pi into F into 5 into TPH. So here if you observe, sorry, F won't be there because I have wrote it in this way. This 2 under root 2 and pi, and this will be constant when the machine is designed. So V by F will be I will write it as root 2 pi TPH, and this is 5. So this is a constant value. As it is a constant, I will write it as V by F is proportional to the flux. So here if I decrease the frequency, in this particular method we are going to decrease the frequency as well as we are going to increase the frequency. First let us see what happens if the frequency is decreased. If we are going to decrease the frequency, the flux will definitely rise because they are inversely proportional. So but the problem here is what happens when everyone will say that when you decrease the frequency of the induction machine, the flux will be raised, but many of us don't know the problem what happens when the flux will be increased. If the flux will be increased, then the stator and the rotor core losses will be very much increased, which will ultimately result in the efficiency degrading. So to avoid and this will result, this is one cause, and due to the flux increasing, saturation occurs. If saturation is occurred in the machine, then definitely the core losses will come into the picture. So to avoid saturation in the rotor and the stator core, flux pi, whatever this flux pi is there, no, this should be maintained or kept as a constant when even though your frequency has been increased. So I will write it down here. To avoid saturation in stator and rotor core, flux, which is denoted by phi, be kept constant when frequency is varied. So our main aim is, even though we are changing our frequency, this flux phi should not be varied. So only we have chance, like if we vary this frequency along with the voltage with the same proportion, then only this flux phi will be in the the constant value. So that is we have, that is V by F is proportional to phi, and for flux phi is equals to a constant value. Definitely V by F should also be equal to constant, because if phi is value is equals to some constant value, this V by F whatever the ratio will be there, that should also be equal to the same constant value. This is a compulsory requirement. But we have a problem, that is we get supply from infinite grid. So actually this is not related, or this is not a concept where we should discuss this in the speed control of the method, but for more knowledge I am sharing this particular concept of infinite grid here. So we get supply from the infinite grid to the induction motor. For suppose if we think like that, so infinite grid is nothing but something which will look like here. Don't worry, it is very simple concept. I will explain it as precise as possible. So this is an infinite grid, or you can say it as an infinite bus, I have made an video also on infinite bus. So this is our generator and which is connected to the infinite bus. So at infinite bus or the infinite grid, our voltage, terminal voltage and the frequency of the line will be a constant value always. But what we require is a variable voltage as well as a variable frequency for the induction motor. But we are getting supply from the infinite grid or the bus where these values are constant. So in order to obtain variable V and F values, we make an arrangement. We make an arrangement as shown below. The arrangement is nothing but a converter and the inverter arrangement. So if this is the generator, we have converter and inverter circuit. All these are the power electronic circuits. So this is the converter, inverter, and this is the variable supply V and F we got. These are variable, these are constant. Here the voltage will be in the AC form. After passing through the converter, the voltage here will be the DC form. Here using an attenuator, variable DC is obtained. So here we have inverter. If we pass through the inverter, here we will get AC. Here the frequency variation will be done, whereas in the converter and the attenuator the DC variable variation is done. So finally we have variable voltage and variable frequency. So this is the concept of this particular supply system. So if we talk about this particular block diagram arrangement, we have some small limitation. So the limitation, actually it is not a limitation, it is indeed designed in that way, so by that our machine won't be damaged. So it is indeed a design requirement, you can say. That is, the above circuit or the block diagram can supply voltage up to the rated voltage of induction motor. Whatever this particular block diagram circuit is there, that will supply voltage up to rated values only. Rated values of what? Induction motor. However, frequency F can be obtained above or below rated values. However, frequency can be obtained above or below rated values, because by using the above value or below value of frequency, we can't see much effect on the induction motor. But if we increase the voltage of the induction motor above its rated value, then insulation failure will occur in the windings of the induction motor. Thus the windings will have a chance to burn out. So that is why we made an arrangement such that supply voltage will not exceed at any cost at any point of time the rated value of the induction motor. So if I have to draw the curve of the above block diagram explained, if I take voltage on y-axis and frequency here, assume that it is in hertz and this is in volts, the curve would look something like this, where this point I can tell it as F rated and this is my V rated. So till the rated values, both frequency and the voltage are changing linearly. After the rated values, the frequency is been changing but the voltage remains constant, because in order to safeguard the machine, the voltage has been kept constant by the design of the above block diagram explained. So this will be the curve looking like for this particular block diagram. So these are the basic concepts that are required to study the V by F speed control of a induction motor. So from now the actual story of this speed control will start. So we need to make some assumptions before making the speed control of the induction motor. So I will assume like, let V1 is equals to nominal voltage, which is in volts, and F1 is equals to nominal frequency. Don't worry by term nominal is nothing but the rated one, nominal frequency, and x2 dash 1 is nothing but rotor standstill reactance referred to stator at nominal frequency. This point is very important. At nominal frequency F1, this will be in ohms as it is a reactance. So x2 dash is the standstill reactance, rotor standstill reactance referred to stator at nominal frequency. Suppose as we are aimed to change the frequency, suppose if we change frequency, then what will happen? Let us see. So suppose at any frequency, we may assume any frequency, that is any new frequency, say that new frequency be F2. Our nominal frequency was F1 and our new frequency which we are changing is F2. So we know that V by F is equals to constant. So if we are making V2 by F2, this should also be equal to a constant value, and these two constant values should be equal in order to maintain flux phi as constant. Understanding what I am telling? These two are the next voltages where we are going to obtain the speed control. These are the nominal values. Assume this is V1 and F1, and that is equal to one particular constant, and whatever the changes F2 or the V2 we are making, that should also be equal to the same constant which has been equal to this constant. So I can write like, from these two equations I can write like V2 by V1 is equals to F2 by F1, as V is proportional to F, that is from V by F is equals to constant, means from this I can deduce this one, V is proportional to F. So from this the new voltage V2 I can write it as V1 times of F2 by F1. So this is one equation A which I will use in the upcoming derivation. So it will be better if you carry a book, if you sit with a book and a pen and note down this equation simultaneously. At least you note down these equations. When I will tell in some other next page from equation A I am writing, it won't be very understanding if I turn pages and explain you. So better if you write this equation somewhere, it will be easy for your reference. So this is the first one, first case, assume that. So second, we know that similarly we can write like I am changing the frequency to F2. So my synchronous speed in terms of omega, that is omega S2 by omega SM1. Omega SM2 is nothing but the new synchronous speed, and this was the old synchronous speed, or the rotating magnetic field is equals to F2 by F1. We know that since omega SM is equals to 4 pi F by P1. This P1 will be constant when one machine, this P1 would be constant after a machine is designed. Of course we can change this P1, but that depends on the construction, what construction we are using on the rotor side. So from this I can say like omega Sm, that is the angular frequency of the rotating magnetic field, is proportional to the F. So from here omega Sm2 is equals to F2 by F1 into omega Sm1. This is my equation B. Or you can time this is the equation I have written in terms of radian per second, in radians. If you want in RPM also you can write like ns2 by ns1 is equals to f2 by f1, and from this you can find the ns2 as well. So these are the two equations we got, A and B. So now third one, we are going to observe the change in the reactance of the machine. So x2 dash 2 by x2 dash 1 will be equal to f2 by f1, because x2 dash is equals to 2 pi f L2 dash. So x2 dash is proportional to f from this relation. So in this way here x2 dash 2 will be equal to x2 dash 1 times f2 by f1. This is the other equation. And if you want to observe the change in terms of maximum slip at maximum torque, that is denoted by St max 2 by St max 1. St max is nothing but slip at which maximum torque occurs. This is the meaning of this, will be equal to f1 by f2. Here in the previous equations you observe any all the in all equations there was f2 by f1, but here it will be f1 by f2. This is the thing you have to remember, since this is 1 by 2, because St max, that is slip at maximum torque, will be equal to r2 dash by x2 dash. If you do some derivation you will get this relation in induction motors. So as St max is equals to r2 dash by x2 dash, I can say like xt max is proportional to 1 by f. Here the f is in denominator because the frequency component, that is reactance component, was in the denominator in this relation. So that is why, as it is inversely proportional, it is f1 by f2. From this St max 2 can be written as slip at maximum torque 1 times upon 1 times of f1 by f2. This is the other equation. So I hope you know the torque equation. Like we know that torque of an induction motor is given by 3 upon omega Sm. Omega Sm is nothing but angular speed of the rotating magnetic field in radians into v1 square, or you can write it as simply v2 square, but remember this is a phase value, r2 dash upon slip whole square plus x2 dash whole square into r2 dash by slip. So this is a general torque equation of a 3-phase induction motor. So here we have assumed some nominal values and nominal values. So let us try to write the general torque equation in terms of the nominal values that we have observed. So torque at nominal values would be something like T1. All nominal values we took suffixes 1, so I will take torque is also 1. So T1 is equals to 3 by omega Sm1 and v1 square upon r2 dash upon s plus x2 dash 1 whole square into r2 dash upon s. So whatever the equation this is there, this is the equation we got when we neglect the stator impedances. That should be in our mind. And here if someone may get doubt, like we are taking the nominal values of this one voltage, reactance, but not why we are not taking the nominal values of r2 dash slip. So whatever the speed control we are doing, we assume that we are doing it a constant slip for the time being. And definitely if we increase the frequency of a machine, then definitely rotor resistance will be changed. But in order to make our calculations easier, we will neglect some these rotor effects to get approximate values. So that's why I didn't consider any changes in the this part of the equation. So hope you understand it. The effects of the resistance will be very less when compared to the all other values, so I can neglect it, so which will approximately give me the same value. So due to change of frequency from f1 to f2, that is nominal value, to a new value, effects that are observed in torque are effects that are observed in torque. These are the things we are going to discuss now. So if I take case 1, if I consider case 1, first I will calculate the torque in low slip zone of a induction motor. Low slip zone. Low slip zone means you are decreasing your frequency from f1 to f2. Remember that frequency is being decreased here in this part. So my T1, that is torque at nominal values, will become 3 upon omega sm1. Okay, for simplicity I will write this whole equation once again at nominal values. So that is 3 upon omega sm1 v1 square upon r2 dash by s whole square plus x2 dash 1 whole square into r2 dash upon s. So as I am changing my frequency from f2 to f1, this term is going to be varied, this term is going to be varied, and this is going to be varied. So that variation will be something like, so T2 will be, before T2 I will take one more step. T1 is equals to 3 by omega sm1 v1 square upon r2 dash into s. When we are considering in low slip zone, this equation will become into this equation, since x2 dash whole square, x2 dash 1 whole square is very low. Think why it is very low and it is neglected. Because as I have said, in low slip zone the frequency we are decreasing. As this is a frequency component which is indirectly proportional, so this will be decreased. This will be very decreased because it is a square value. So that's why we neglect, this value will be very less, so we will be decreasing it, and thus we are neglecting it. So this part of the equation will become 0 as we are neglecting it, and here there are 2 times r2 dash by s and here 1 time, so these two will be cancelled and here one s will be there, and this s will be multiplied into the numerator, that is do some mathematical operation, you will get these equations after you are neglecting this reactance term. So I got this one. So now if I want to write in terms of nominal values, oh sorry, before writing in terms of nominal values, let us write this in the new whatever due to this frequency change has been there. Due to this we will get some equations like, now the frequency has been changed from 1 to 2, sorry, 1 to 2. My T1 will be turned to T2, that is 3 by omega Sm2. This Sm is a suffix. V1 will be turned to V2 square by R2 won't change into slip. So this is the new equation by after changing this frequency from nominal to F2, new frequency which is less than F1. So I want to write this in terms of nominal values. In terms of nominal values, that would be equal to T2 is equals to 3 by omega Sm2. I can write it from equation B as F2 by F1 into omega Sm1. This is the reason why I have said you to write the equations before. And V2 can be written as F2 1 upon whole square into V1 square by R2 dash. Here these terms will be getting cancelled, and finally T2 will be equal to 3 by omega Sm1 into, as it is a square term, one more term will be there here, F2 by F1 into V1 whole square by R2 dash into slip. So I have written this with the reference or with the help of equations from A and B, and let this equation be C. So therefore in low slip zone, if I decrease my frequency, then torque is going to be decreased. So in low slip zone, T2 decreases means F2 is also decreases, and this T2 is nothing but electromagnetic torque. So this is the final conclusion we got from this equation C. Now let's talk about case 2. Case 2 will talk about high slip zone. In low slip zone we decreased our frequency. Here our frequency will be increased. At nominal values, at nominal conditions, our torque equation was T1 is equals to 3 upon omega Sm1 into V1 square by x2 dash whole square 1 into R2 dash S. This was a nominal condition, and this was the equation when frequency has been increased. Here if you see, there is no term of R2 dash has been missing here, since here x2 dash 1 will be much greater than R2 dash. In the previous case it was in the reverse fashion, but here the x2 dash will be high because we are increasing the frequency. So this whatever the low value is there, that has been neglected. So the equation will look something like this. So at new frequency F2, my T2 will be equal to 3 by omega Sm2 V2 square x2 dash 2 whole square into R2 dash S. I have said why this R2 dash won't be changed before. So similarly I want to write this in terms of nominal values again. if I write this in terms of nominal values, again I will be using equation A and B. So T2 would be equal to 3 by F2 upon F1 into omega Sm1 into F2 by F1 into V1 square F2 upon F1 square into x2 dash 1 whole square into r2 dash upon slip. This both will be get cancelled. So finally I have my equation as 3 by F2 by F1 into omega Sm1 V1 square upon x2 dash 1 whole square r2 dash by s. Let this be equation D. So from this the conclusion will be in high slip zone, if frequency decreases the torque increases and vice versa. If frequency increases the torque decreases because they are in the numerator and denominator position. If this increases, this decreases. If this increases, this will be decreased. So this is the conclusion we made. So the reason for why I am writing all these equations is to make you feel how the speed is going to be controlled in an induction motor, which is very interesting. So that's why I am making you to learn all these equations. Once you are good enough with these equations, you can easily understand the speed torque characteristics by just having a glance at the graph or the plot which you will be drawing between speed and the torque. So till now we talked about low slip zone, high slip zone, and there is one more term like maximum torque. So if we talk about maximum torque of induction motor, neglecting ZS, that is stator impedances, very important. You need to neglect this stator impedances for computation of the below equations. So T1 max 1 that is T maximum torque at nominal value was, this is standard formula or the equation which you can derive when you are studying induction motor, will be this one, that is 3 by 2 into omega Sm. In some textbooks it will be like 1.5 times of V1 square by x2 dash 1 into 1 by omega Sm. So in that way it will be there. So at new frequency, this is at nominal frequency, and at new frequency F2, Tmax 1 will be converted to Tmax 2, and 3 by 2 omega S1M will be converted to Sm2, and V1 will be converted to V2 square, and x2 dash is, this will be converted to second term. So again similarly in terms of nominal values I need to write this in terms of nominal values. So Tmax 2 is 3 by 2 into F2 by F1 omega Sm1 into F2 by F1 whole square into V1 square by F2 by F1 whole square into x2 dash 1. So this and this will be get cancelled. Here there won't be square term, and this will be cancelled. Here we got square values because in the main torque equation there was V1 square. That is why for F frequency component as well as the voltage component we have written square, but whereas in the reactance component there is no square component, and from the equations which I have written before it would be equal to F2 by F1 into x2 dash by x1. So finally I have got my Tmax 2 will be equal to 3 by 2 into omega Sm1 into v1 square upon x2 dash 1. This is the equation I got. So if you observe, whatever the equation I have written earlier at nominal condition is now equal to the torque equation which I have got after changing the frequency. So by this means you need to understand that there won't be effect of maximum torque produced by the induction motor by changing its frequency from F1, that is rated frequency, to another frequency which might be below or above rated frequency. So this is the important observation you need to understand. So while drawing graph you can see this pictorially also. However, even this is constant. However, Stmax, that is slip at maximum torque, is proportional to F1. This equation I have written earlier itself. So but from this, if frequency changes, the slip at maximum torque increases. These two relations, I mean there is no relation between in these two equations, but you can observe these two relations in the speed torque characteristics pictorially, which we are going to draw in our next part. So the phone is getting hot. I will take a pause here and continue the video. So now let us draw torque speed characteristics curve with variable frequency but maintaining V by F ratio as a constant. So I have took torque on y-axis and speed, or that is synchronous speed, on the x-axis. So I will draw as symmetrical as possible without any scaling errors, but try to understand. So speed is in this direction and slip is in this direction. This is the main important thing when you are drawing speed torque characteristics for an induction motor, because in any other machine you won't be talking about slip concept. So that's why here that's why you need to have some you should give some importance to the slip concept. Slip will be in opposite direction to that of the speed. If slip is moving in this side, means it is increasing value. If it moves in this value, it is decreasing value. So I will assume a point at which slip s is equals to 0. If slip is 0, my rotor speed would be equal to the synchronous speed ns. So and I will assume this particular situation where s is equal to 0 as my nominal situation, that is nr1 is equals to ns1 is equals to 120 f1 upon p, where f1 is the nominal frequency which I have observed or assumed earlier. So this is the particular point. So I will draw the characteristic curve at nominal situation. For suppose by the nameplate details or the rated values of the induction motors, if one draws a curve between torque and speed by taking some values at different loads, we will get the torque curve like something like this. So this particular point we will name it as Tmax 1, because it is a point at which we are drawing the torque speed characteristic. So this is my Tmax 1, and Tmax 1 will be equal to Tmax 2, and Tmax 2 will be equal to Tmax 3, which we are about to draw in next few minutes. Because here if you have seen in the equation, Tmax 1 was equal to Tmax 2 even if the frequency was increased or decreased. In simpler terms, it is changed even though they were changed. So Tmax would be same for all the curves which we are drawing. So if we assume that, so the first step, I will write the steps also for your convenience. At first, draw a characteristic curve of speed versus torque at nominal value, that is f1. So this is the curve that we got from the point 1. So now second point, with reference to nominal curve, we are going to deduce the machine characteristics at f2, which is less than f1. At this writing part of my points, you can increase the speed and watch the video so that you can save your time. So if f2 is greater than f1, so this comes under third point. Okay, so this is the third point. From up to here it is the second point. So with reference to nominal curve, we are going to deduce the machine characteristics at f2, which is less than the f1. So you have seen here from equation A, where is that equation? Yeah, from the low slip zone, where we have, yeah, from this particular thing in low slip zone, if we are changing the frequency, what happens to my torque? The torque is also being decreasing, because so in my curve, if I am going to change my frequency, that is which is less than this f1 frequency, so my assumed frequency is f2, which is f1, which is less than the next frequency which I am going to give to the machine is f2, and this f2 is less than f1. Hope you are clear now. So if changing in the frequency is lesser than the previous frequency, the torque is also going to reduce from low slip zone equation. This is why the purpose I am making you to write the equations simultaneously. So at this point the torque would be at somewhere here for frequency f2. At this point the torque would be here. At this point the torque would be here, because if frequency is decreasing, the torque is also decreasing. Before it was here, but at some point, if I join all these points, my this is not came symmetrically. It would be something like this, assume. So this will go something like this. But the thing you have to observe here is it has also reached to Tmax 1, because there is no effect on maximum torque developed by the machine. So that is why it is also reaching to the same point. So this was the curve at nominal frequency f1. This was the curve which is drawn at nominal frequency f2, which is less than f1. Now we have decreased frequency curve and we have nominal frequency curve. Now let us draw the frequency increased curve. So from high slip zone equation, if frequency is being increased, the torque is if this is increasing, this will be decreasing. So if my frequency increases, if frequency is decreasing, the torque would be increasing like this. This is also the Tmax point. All these are Tmax points only. So if I draw a perpendicular line from the maximum point to x-axis, I will get the slip at maximum torque for the respective curves. So this is the STmax 3. Why 3? Because this is the third frequency curve. So this is the curve drawn at F2 greater than F1, and let this F2 be some F3. So I have written the slip at maximum torque of curve 3 is S3, and here the slip was ST max 1, and here the slip is ST max 2, and here if you see on the y-axis, this is TST3, TST2 1, and TST2. TST is nothing but starting torque. So the variation in starting torque also you can observe once you draw the torque speed characteristics. So without writing the third point, I have drawn this curve. So I will write the third point here. The third point is in high slip zone. In high slip zone, we know that if frequency is increasing, torque is decreasing. In high slip zone, if frequency is increasing, the torque would be decreasing. So the plot looks something like this, which we have drawn here. So this was the third point. So now we have assumed this all three curves. Now what I will do is, now I will connect a constant load to the induction motor which is running at some speed. So I will draw that constant load line TL here. This is constant load that has been applied to the machine, so that I will denote it as TL. So let us say this is my nominal point at which the machine was running when I applied this constant load. So at this point, if I drop this down and if I take this point as A and this is O, and here the slip will be 1, here the slip is 0. As you are moving towards your left hand side, the slip will be increasing, and slip value will always be between 0 to 1, so that is why it is 1. So at this particular point, this is A and this is O. So my motor is running with a speed of OA RPM, or you can say it as OA radians per second if you write in terms of omega. So what I do is, now if I want to reduce the speed of the induction motor, I will change the supply frequency from nominal value to F2. What will happen is the torque produced at this point is corresponding to at this point will be very less, because the line which we drawn is on that particular basis only. Because if you are decreasing the frequency, means in low slip zone the torque is also going to be reduced. So the speed will be decreasing, and it will reach this particular point. And till that particular point, what happens is, torque is been, if speed is decreasing, then the what if we have the slip, like in general, if you have to define slip can be defined as ns minus nr by ns also. So it is the difference between synchronous speed and the rotor speed. So if the difference increases, slip also increases. So here the speed is been reducing. The speed is reducing means slip increasing. If the slip is increasing, where is that equation? Yeah, from equation C, if slip increases, then your torque also increases, because torque and slip are proportional to each other, that is directly proportional to each other in this equation C. So as torque is increasing, as slip is increasing, torque will also increase, and it will settle down at this particular point here. And why the speed of the induction motor is being is been reducing at this particular point. So for that we need to understand this. Suppose this is my machine and I have applied a load, and if electromagnetical torque developed is in this direction, then the rotation of the rotor would be also in the same direction. But if we are applying a load, then the torque will be applied in the opposite direction. This load torque will always be in opposition with the electromagnetic torque, because this electromagnetic torque only has to drive this load. So this electromagnetic torque will treat this torque as a negative torque, so that torque will be in the opposite direction. So if this is increasing, I mean the load torque is increasing, then definitely this will electromagnetic torque will be reducing, therefore this speed will be reducing. This speed will be reducing because in order to drive this load, therefore the speed has to be decreased. If the speed is decreased, the torque developed by the machine will be increased. So in this way, as the load is increasing, or as the load is changing, therefore my torque is been increasing from this point. The speed will be reduced. If speed reduces, slip will increase. If slip increases, this torque will be raised, and at some particular point it will reach to a steady state, and this steady state point, let me treat it as point B. So before at F1 at nominal value, the speed of the machine was OA, and now the speed of the machine at F2, which is less than F1, speed of the machine is OB. In this way, the speed control can be achieved for a synchronous machine. Hope you are clear now. So as I have said, this particular but there is a flaw in this particular plot we have drawn, because with only one synchronous speed only we have drawn all the conditions. But understand this, if you are changing the frequency, then definitely this synchronous speed is also going to be changed, so this won't be applied at that particular situation. This is the situation where you are assuming that your synchronous speed is one constant, and you are drawing all the other curves at different frequencies other than ns. So now let us I will draw in very rough manner for understanding purpose. Assume that this is a V rated value and this is frequency rated value. So during this particular point, if I draw the speed torque characteristic curves, all the curves will look something like this. All these curves I am drawing for the very small intervals of the frequency. So assume that the frequency here is 0, 0.1, 0.001, 0.002, like this up to rated frequency. Assume my rated frequency is 50 Hz. I just assume this, and after this particular point, what happens is the voltage will be constant, because in whatever the circuit we are using to supply for the machine, it can only supply voltage up to the rated value, but not after the rated value. So after this particular thing, what happens is the curve will look something like this, because the voltage will fall down, whereas your frequency can be increased. So if you observe the speed torque characteristics, all these points, if you observe, we have many speed control points of the induction motor. So why the and here the torque is also been reducing, because torque is nothing but torque will be reduced, because at this particular point V rated and a frequency rated point, the power developed by the machine will be delivered will be high, and this high is nothing but your rated power. So after this, beyond the rated value, if power has to be there is no chance of power increasing. So therefore what it does is it will reduce its torque development and it will increase its speed in order to maintain this power as a constant. So that is why the torque is been reducing, and the voltage is also the torque is been reducing. So in this way our we can have the speed control of the induction machine. So if one has to ask like, can I use my induction motor as a traction drive? What will be your answer? Definitely you can use the induction motor as a traction drive, because at the starting time of the traction or the train we need high torque, because the inertia will be very high at that point. So in order to drive that high masses we need high starting torque, and here you can see we have very high starting torques at this point frequency. So, and as therefore the train gains its speed, the inertia that has to be moved by the train motors will be reduced. So therefore the whatever the train characteristics are there, in similar to that the speed torque characteristics are there. So therefore I can use this induction motor for the traction as well. So that is why in nowadays in metros also we are using these three-phase induction motors, where which we replaced our DC series motor by the induction motor. So the popularity of the induction motor has been increasing day by day due to the improvement of this frequency control circuits due to the power electronics. Here you can control the speed from RPM to RPM, very important. Even from 1 RPM to 2 RPM also we can get the frequency value differentiation difference. So that is why we are making use of induction motors very widely. Even Tesla cars also uses three-phase induction motors itself. This might be seeming very surprising, but Tesla cars are also using three-phase induction motors, because the speed torque characteristics are very good. So in Tesla cars, first the DC would be converted into three-phase. This DC will be splitted into three-phase AC supply, and this AC supply is used to feed the induction motors. Therefore we can have very good speed control option. So before 18th before or in the late 18th centuries or the 19th centuries, the induction motor was there, but there was no much usage of this, because at that time they only know the voltage control method and the resistance control method, by which the rotor heating effect was there. But here what happens is, in the cases we have assumed here, we are decreasing the in one case, that is in the low slip zone, we are decreasing the frequency. Assume that if you are decreasing the frequency, what happens to the eddy current losses and the hysteresis losses, which are dependent on the frequency. So therefore the core losses are also reducing, which means here the efficiency is not degrading. Instead, the efficiency of the machine is been increasing due to the speed control method of this V/F method. So this is how one need to understand the speed control technique of an induction motor in detail with all the equations. So this is, hope everyone has understood about how V/F control method is done. Actually induction motor is one of my favorite machine, and in that one this particular topic is my favorite one. So I took very long enough time, very long, actually it may reach up to 1 hour. So better if you go twice through this video, the concepts will be clear. But I think I am telling very slow, so increase the speed of the video and watch it. It will be very useful, and I will provide a PDF link for the same V/F control method in the description link below. You can go through it and refer it after watching the video. So if you like this video, please do share this video with your friends and give me a like, so that it will be encouraging for me. So thank you guys, we'll meet in our next video. Until then, take care, bye.